What do you have behind you? You've got a
I've
pineapple.
got a head. So this one of my hobbies is to make pottery.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
Woof.
so this actually
Oh,
looks like my granddad actually.
what
So
is
it's huge, same as my head. It's made of clay. I glazed it, so I call them
nice.
Stead heads. My parents had them all around their house.
Oh, you've got many heads.
Many heads, yeah, and then hospitality with the pineapple there. So the symbol of hospitality.
I don't know why it reminds me, the film with Tom Hanks where he's alone on an island and he's
That's it.
talking to a football.
Basically, yeah. That's I'm alone, just talking to my heads. Yeah.
Massive. The purpose of As If, it's a podcast I've started this autumn
Hmm.
because I have less jobs for the first time in my career and first time in 14 years. The jobs have this autumn just vanished all of a sudden. I thought I had a bug on my computer because usually people
Should.
call me. I don't even need
Hmm.
to look for work, and it's
Hmm.
stopped
Stop.
totally.
Maybe this is a blessing in disguise, though.
Uh,
I always like to think every cloud has a silver lining. So this is the time to let you rest, relax, and maybe pivot to something else. Pivot into this. You never know.
Exactly. That's what I think. But still, it was quite panicking. So I thought, what am I going to do? Because I'm going to be bored. And I've got a job where I meet different industries, different teams, different subjects,
Hmm.
different questioning, people saving the world or making money, whatever. So I'm always feeding my brain. And all of
Mm.
a sudden, there was no more feed.
Mm.
So this is
Yep.
for Alexia. So I've been wanting to do a podcast like many people around
Hmm.
creativity, but
Hmm.
everybody does it. So
Yep.
I was looking for an angle and I got tested for ADHD in July, which is
Adda hudda.
which is not a
Yep.
surprise. And I thought,
Yep.
this is my
Well,
angle.
welcome to the team. ADHD is one of the best superpowers in the world. Look,
Exactly.
you look at anybody who's in entertainment, any actor, any musician that all got ADHD. Everybody we admire is ADHD.
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson.
Michael Jackson has there's so many people who have uh, my brain has gone blank, which is an ADHD trait.
Einstein. Everyone, people who made Google, Einstein, everyone, all the guys who
Yeah.
created something different
Uh-huh.
have
Do,
ADHD.
it's because you can see the white space between things. You can see two polarities, two things which have no relevance to each other at all. It can be mutated and exuberant. And then you can see an interconnection between them. And your brain's going 1,000 miles an hour. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not so great. Not so great when you're trying to explain how they're interconnected to a non-ADHD brain. You try and explain that to an ADHD brain, people are on they understand it straight away.
And
Um,
that's the hard thing is sometimes, okay, we'll have to go back. I'll see how I do it. We are going to do the interview like ADHD people, huh?
just
I try to be structured. The structure is here for a helper at some stage. If
Uh-huh.
well, alors, so what interested me most after the conversation we had a few weeks ago isn't only your background, even it seems very interesting for what I've read
Mm,
when you started talking or the project you worked on, but the way they shaped the way you think or the way you dream or the way you create.
mm,
You've lived across very different cultural systems,
mhm,
lived in different countries, worked on future-oriented, oh, sorry, my English environments. And
mm,
what I see, and we started speaking a little bit about, is you're very interested in the invisible layers of human experiences,
yep.
how we perceive things, how we behave with emotions, collective dynamics, and all that. And this is
Hmm.
very aligned to what I think about a lot and this podcast and my future projects. because I'm
Hmm.
interested in how certain people perceive the world, how different they perceive it, how they get to that, and how it shapes the experience they create. You've lived in different parts of the world, and last time we were speaking, you told me you were just coming back to London, where you were born, but you
Hmm.
were already thinking about leaving again. So,
Yeah.
first thing I want to ask you is, what are you looking for?
I think that's quite a big question.
Dive.
There was this song by what's his name? The Sunblock song. Can you remember? Do you remember that from the 90s? It's not a song. It's basically somebody giving a speech to a class of graduates in the US. There's one line in that that says, "The most interesting people I know don't know what they want to do at 40, but the even more interesting people don't know what they want to do at 70," or something like that. I'm butchering it. So what do I want to do? I don't know. I want to be interesting. I want to drive something which is going to drive value. My mission has been to create memories. Um, so I used to run hotels and cruises, um, and I always thought people save so much to come to my hotels, to my cruises, that they need to leave with something. They need to leave with something they're going to remember in 5, 10, 15, 20 years time. They need to leave with something that they're going to tell their grandkids about when they're in retirement. So I've always been about creating something which is going to be long lasting. And memories are non-linear. It's not like every single thing you do has equal weighting in terms of memory. They have peaks and they have troughs. I do know that I want to continue to create memories and to create experiences. Um, and experiences can either be fulfilling from an emotional, psychological perspective, plus experiences done correctly can be fulfilling from a corporate finance perspective. So I'm looking where I can mesh these together. So social good and also for corporate betterment as well. Um, where that's going to land, I don't know. How it's going to land, I don't know. We just got to go with the flow. I quite like being in this ambiguous nature. Like you don't really know what's going to happen because that opens up so many things. It allows your brain to run in a multitude of directions, and that multitude of directions doesn't necessarily mean that's the direction you're going, but the multitude of directions is a way to help you build your creative muscle. Basically, the more you think about something, it could be more you think about this one vertical, there's one sector, there's one problem, the more that will help with other areas. I
Okay.
really don't know, but I'm looking forward to whatever it's going to hold.
I think it's a very interesting answer. I like people who don't know. I have the feeling like
Yeah.
I was speaking with some friends who are scared because they have many different ideas that seem not to go together. And I always tell them if it's ideas that
Ah.
excite you,
Mm,
trust it. Just
mm,
continue them wherever they're going. And at some
mhm.
stage, they'll go whoop, and the experience
Exactly.
will be wonderful.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. You don't know what you don't know until you know it, right?
yep, exactly. Hello. I have another question. Mm-mm-mm. So you've had a pretty unusual path, as you
Hmm.
started saying, from hospitality to brand experience, future-orientated project, global system.
Hmm.
But before we get more into that, if you had to explain your job, your role,
Hmm. Hmm.
to a 10 years old,
Oh, okay. To 10 years,
can you say it in simple words for people who are not corporate?
okay. Um, I create I create memories that you're going to remember. It's easiest way. I build brands, I build experiences. They could be the way a drink is served, or the way the service is enacted, the way somebody talks to you, the activity you do on a cruise ship, the indigenous experience you have in a little village that you would not expect to have. These seem natural, but in fact, most of them are scripted. Not scripted, but most of them are designed in some way to feel natural. Um, yeah, create memories. I create memories that are going to last for years and years and years. Everything that I try to do, it needs to feel like the human element will come out of it. So it needs to feel like you are receiving something from another human being. If you feel like you're receiving something from a structure, from a framework, from from a tick box, you will not resonate with that experience. You'll think this is just very generic, very beige, very corporate. You need to allow the people who enact them experiences, them activities, the brand, the concept to actually showcase and sometimes go off script a bit. But everything is choreographed, designed in a way to allow for things to be unique.
Can you give us examples of maybe one or two tools you would use for the experience to seem that it is given by from a human?
I think one of the biggest challenges is with an experience design and experience development. There's not really one framework.
Can you speak a bit slower
Okay, sorry.
for me to understand and for the people who are not used to the accent?
Wh- when I get excited, I speak very fast. Okay, I think one of the big challenges that we have from experience design, experience development is that there isn't actually one framework which can actually be used homogeneously across many sectors and many experiences. I think there's ways of thinking and when you're designing experiences. Now, let's take a theme park and an amusement park. From a distance, they're identical. But an amusement park is your little small village fair, and your theme park is Disneyland. Your theme park has a theme which flows on through, so the experience is choreographed. It has these emotional moments. It has these positive friction points which will drive memory and intent. Your amusement park is literally a collection of different rides, but there's nothing which flows on through it. So when we think frameworks, there's nothing which really can say this, or this. I mean, there's behavioral frameworks, there's brand frameworks, there is different frameworks, but I find that they cannot easily overlap into many different categories, many sectors. But I think if you start thinking from a belief system, am I designing for a theme park or am I designing for an amusement park? I think that starts to open things up. I am trying to build out a framework in terms of how we can design experiences. I'm calling it the four S's of experience, which is sensory, spatial, social, and symbolic. So every experience needs to cover one of these four facets for it actually to be a positive and emotionally engaging experience. So sensory, what does it feel physically or emotionally, right? So how does the environment affect your senses or your nervous system? So spatial, how does the space guide behavior or emotion? I mean, we are emotional creatures. Deepest sense, we're very volatile. We should be using more basic psychology in everything we're doing. But especially it talks about how we choose the environment, how we choreograph the moments, the comfort and the interactions. This could come down to service, right? So let's talk about the differing types of service. If you're in McDonald's, you're going to receive one type of service, right? They've got their own service style. If you're in the Four Seasons, you're not going to be receiving the same type of service, the same design, the same tone, the same language, the same movements as what you get at McDonald's. You're going to be getting the Four Seasons. Four Seasons is a luxury hotel chain.
Okay.
Probably one of the better of the luxury chains. They really understand their category. It is corporate luxury. It is standardization without things feeling too standard. Um, it's very high level. It's really good. And then the third S in the four S's is social. So how do people how does the experience make people feel, right? So how do humans shape trust, belonging, and emotion, right? So do we create a community? Is this an individual led? Am I the leader? Is this a pack activity? What is this? How does this show up? And sometimes if it is building a community doesn't always need to interact with somebody verbally or interact with somebody physically or know somebody. It could literally be that the environment you're in, right? So let's say we're trying to create a social atmosphere in a cafe or a restaurant. How do we create that buzz that makes the energy feel alive? And you've been in restaurants where nobody's talking and you
Mm,
feels flat. You feel I shouldn't be here. That's telling you a few things. That's telling you I shouldn't be here because social proof tells me it's not the right place. But it's also telling you I shouldn't be here. Maybe there's something wrong with the food. Maybe there's something wrong with this. Maybe there's something wrong with that because you're not hearing this atmosphere. But then there's also the fourth S is symbolic. So what meaning, status, or identity does it communicate? Everybody likes to be elevated in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
So whenever we're creating an experience, it is about ensuring that we never pull people down. We either level set them or we elevate them. Not every experience needs to be reduce every friction point. Experience needs to push positive friction forward because that creates anticipation, that creates memory, that creates connection. So symbolic. So what does this experience say about me? Does it elevate me? Does it does it connect with my belief system? Does it connect with what I want to portray to the world? So yeah, that's the four S's of experience which I'm building right now. So sensory, spatial, social, and symbolic. I think it's quite an interesting
It is
framework
very
to
interesting.
use.
I just, I do vocal improvisation, and I participate as a graphic facilitator this time
Mhm.
at a vocal improvisation retreat experience. It's exactly what we're talking about, and I'm learning each time of what works, what doesn't work, what
Mm.
creates a memory, what creates belonging, what
Mhm.
creates community, what creates the desire to learn more, to improve.
I think one of the biggest questions is, should we be doing all of these at once, or should we just be focused on one versus the others? I think a lot of companies, when they're trying to build experience out, they're either doing it incorrectly. Let's say we talk about personalization. A lot of luxury hotels or service-based industries will think that name usage is personalization. It's not. If you hear your name 20 times in a sentence, it's not. It actually detracts from the overall experience. So seamlessness, anticipation, appropriate empathy, collaboration, that really amplifies
That
the experience more
collaboration.
than
Mm.
appropriate name usage or
It's
misappropriate name
very,
usage.
we don't have that much. It's very American, the name thing, isn't it?
Or if you go
Calling
to
you all the
luxury,
time. It looks weird. For us, it's weird. You're like one, two, and then, okay, it's me, yes.
if you go to luxury hotels, so this is kind of like my world, working in or for luxury hotel brands. Um, a lot of people will read, I need to use names appropriately, naturally, but they'll put it in every single sentence.
Yeah.
So in a previous world, I used to be a hotel consultant. So I used to travel around the world, and part of my job was actually undercover guest. So I stayed in
That's the
some
job I
really
wanted to do when I was traveling. I didn't find the school. I didn't have the money for the school. That's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, it was brilliant. I didn't have the money for the school. I built out my career to kind of go into that direction. But it was really interesting. So I stayed everywhere from Bhutan to Fiji to Arizona to Thailand to the south of France. There's some amazing properties, but there are some properties where you go into and you know instantly this is not going to be good. They charge a lot. They charge 1,000 euros, 2,000 euros, 3,000 euros a night, and then you instantly know you have that feeling of dread. As soon as you see the doorman or the door person or the receptionist, you know that this is it's going to be
What are
painful.
what are the clues that you have noticed?
When I was working, I needed to be undercover, but some of the hotels would share my name or they would share my itinerary.
They would warn their friends.
They would warn their friends. Not good because it just means their friends are going to get higher score and they're going to get lower score, and because
Yeah.
they got a lower score, their
Mm.
boss is going to say, "Why you got a lower score?" Um, but because you're spotted, everybody tries to do everything 100% perfect. But 100% perfect comes across as robotic.
Yeah.
And you don't have that emotional connection, that interaction with somebody. And quite often what happens is a lot of people want to have their name in the report or they want their name to go to corporate. So they'll be hanging around trying to do something, but it just becomes as intrusive, repetitive,
Yeah.
and it becomes very irritating.
Yeah.
And you'll see this arriving to a hotel. Let's say the door team have been forewarned upon my arrival, and I'm coming to the hotel, and they greet me by name before I've even announced who I am. I came in a
Yeah.
taxi or whatever. And you go, oh, okay. They know.
Too
They
perfect
know.
is not good. You like humans, so humans make mistake.
One of the best experiences I actually had was from a standards perspective, from a quality perspective, was terrible. So I was consulting a hotel up in Scotland, really, really nice golf resort. And I was arriving by train, but my train was delayed. It was horrible. My The journey from here up there was atrocious. If you ever dealt with British trains, you'll know the issues. Um, but then I arrived at the train station. The driver wasn't there. So I arranged pickup from the train station. He wasn't there. Um, but I called the hotel and then he arrived about 20, 30 minutes later. He went completely off script. Every standard was wrong, but it wasn't his problem. It wasn't his fault that he wasn't there. They just didn't put it in the diary to pick me up. They didn't put it into the calendar. Um, but
But
he went completely off script,
yeah.
but in terms of full quality, but from an emotional connection point of view, phenomenal. He anticipated our needs when we was in the car. He fully personalized the situation without overusing our name.
Mm,
Um, the His seamlessness once we was in the vehicle, phenomenal.
mm.
I actually nominated him for the top employee of that stay, even though he went off grid. And
He was able to go in the flow. I
exactly.
think that's one
But
of the top qualities to be able to just true.
I also think he did tell us that I was his last pickup he was doing. He was retiring
Oh,
the next day.
yeah. That's
So
a good one too, when you don't care anymore.
so but it was one of the most enjoyable conversations I've had whilst working there. He really connected to us. He was telling us about all the local area. He was from that area. He was very passionate about it, and it wasn't scripted. It didn't feel like he was
Yeah.
just trying to get a box ticked. It was brilliant. But yeah, I hope he's enjoying his retirement right now.
Yeah, I hope so too for him. I'm going back to my grid. So you didn't build a linear career and you moved across countries, industries, and cultures. What kept you going forward? Hmm?
This is a question that I'm asked quite often by my wife or by my friends. They quite often say, "I've got a lot of grit, tenacity, perseverance, especially in the face of adversity or pushbacks." Now, I've often questioned why, seemingly, I will continue going forward when most people would just go, "I'm going to bow out here." I think I'd take it back to a few things. I think take it back to my childhood. My parents were wonderful, the most amazing, most caring, nurturing individuals you can imagine. But I was brought up in the wrong side of town. I mean, I'm from a very strong working class family, not many opportunities around. ADHD, obviously ADHD in schools didn't really want kids with any neuro diverse conditions because it could hamper their overall scores. But what I realized, I think, quite quickly was the world will always say no, even if I know in my head that I can overcome it in my own way. I mean, you're ADHD, you know, the world will say no to you,
Yeah.
but you
You
can
have to
see.
push.
You got to push. I think this has been one of my biggest learnings, how to push through adversity, and push through adversity in a positive manner. I also think I was kind of blessed because whilst in high school and college, academically, I wasn't great. I got to university, I did a lot better. I did my master's, I did a lot better. But in high school and college, I really wasn't good. I found adventure sports, kayaking, canoeing, climbing, hiking, basically anything outdoors. Now, the outdoors is an amazing uh, place because it's a level playing field. It doesn't matter if you come from a wealthy family, it doesn't matter if you come from a poor family, it doesn't matter if you come middle class, working class, it doesn't matter if you come from um, it doesn't matter what background you're from. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter anything. Everybody is the same. As soon as you get into the wilderness, you get into rock face, all of that issues, they fade away. And I think this is where I thrived quite well because I was able to put myself through these challenges. And I was part of a canoe club and things like this. And the voluntary coaches there were phenomenal in helping trying to grow, nurture young children, young adults, self-esteem, motivation, and confidence. And they would put you through these small challenges. Let's go down this waterfall. Let's climb this rock face. Let's do this. Let's do this. When you look at it, you go, oh, I can't do this. That waterfall's huge. But they will do it in such a way that, or they'll start off small and build you up that you feel that you can do it. It's all about you've got your comfort zone, right? Your comfort zone is a small circle, and you've got always got to push out your comfort zone. The more you push out your comfort zone, the more your comfort zone grows.
Yep.
You push out the comfort zone, then your development zone grows. As long as you don't go into your danger zone, so three circles,
Mhm.
then you'll just keep growing and growing and growing. I remember there was a quote by the man who set up Outward Bound. His name is Kurt Hahn, and this was about 100 years ago. So Kurt Hahn was a former naval officer, and he wanted to do something to uh, develop the young adults, the young men in his area, which is South Wales. And Outward Bound now is a huge organization. They do lots of development programs, outdoor development programs. But he said everybody can achieve, I'm paraphrasing it, but everybody can achieve more than what they think they can. They just need the opportunity to show that they can do it. So that's what the outdoors helped me do.
Yep.
It gave me the opportunity to show that I can do more than what I think I can. So, but I was just needed the opportunity to do it. Um, and that's pushed me forward in business.
Mm.
If somebody says no, okay, well, they say no. We need to come out from a different direction. It's not that you go, they said no, okay, halas, we're done. It is they said no, okay, let's retrack, let's refigure out, let's go in a different direction. Um, and there's been a lot of setbacks. Life will throw
Uh,
thousands of setbacks at you.
yeah.
Yeah. Just
You
it'll
give
always
me the chills. Very good. Very good.
the biggest setbacks are always those things that hit that blindside you. This is another Baz Luhrmann quote from that song. The biggest setbacks were the ones that blindside you on a random Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock. You can't plan for them. You just need to take them in your stride.
Mm. In Europe, people often, well, in France, less in England, but still, in France a lot.
Mhm.
In
Mhm.
Europe, people often want clarity, stability, defined passes to know where you come from. So you have to show what you
Mm.
are, your diplomas. How is it like you've been working in parts of Asia, in the Gulf? They
Mhm.
seem to have more appetite for experimentation and big visions. Did you see a difference? Can you tell us a bit about all this?
So this is really interesting. So let's take Thailand. Thailand actually has per capita the most entrepreneurs anywhere in the world, right?
Really?
More
Thailand.
people in Thailand are classified as entrepreneurs. They'll do their main business, but they might have a side business, or they might do this and this, right? Are classified as entrepreneurs, and that's part of their culture. They are always going, what more can we do? Where can we amplify? Where can we change? What needs adapting? What needs changing? Um, I think it could be one part of their culture, maybe part of the socioeconomic challenges that a number of a lot of the country have. How do we better ourselves? How do we get ourselves out of these issues? Um, I think it's one thing maybe in Europe we don't always see, or we don't always use. We're very much told our path when we're a teenager. We're told this is what is expected of you. You're gonna go to university, you're gonna graduate, you're gonna get a job, you're gonna stay in that job for 20, 30 years, and you're gonna in the time you're gonna get a partner, you're gonna get a house, you can have kids, da, 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 da. Fine. But what else? I mean, I've always thought that the best thing to do is to go in the opposite direction of the river. If you want opportunity, you need to go in the opposite direction of everybody else. If
Mm.
everybody's going one way, you need to go the other way. I mean, this happened a lot. I ended up working in Burma in Myanmar at one point, and this was just as Aung San Suu Kyi was taking power, and the junta was having a little bit of they didn't know what was actually happening. And nobody wanted to work in Burma. Nobody wanted to work in Myanmar. It's an amazing place. I strongly recommend anybody visiting. The people are phenomenal. The food, it takes some time getting used to, but once you're used to the food, it's really good. The people are really nice though. Um, I was offered an opportunity there, a lot younger than what most people are for that opportunity. Plain and simply because people who would not be normally that age for that role wouldn't want to go to Myanmar because it's too dangerous. They've made it in their career. They don't have this risk appetite. they don't see the clearing through the trees. I kind of feel like that's what the people from Thailand see. They see these opportunities. They look for the clearings. They don't look what everybody else is doing. They look at the white spaces, the opportunities, the gaps. But it's also a collectivist society in Asia. So collectivist society is you work more as a community versus in Europe and in the West we work very
Yeah.
individual society. So we are kind of like lone wolves. We go in one direction and this is what we're going to do. We're on our own. In Asia, it's collectivist. So if you start doing something, your friends and your family will be helping out. So it actually makes it easier to do because it's not as big a challenge.
And what about
Yeah.
in the Gulf?
The Gulf's a very interesting one. So we'll talk about Gulf, the GCC, the Middle East. The Gulf, I think from a distance, the UAE, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Bahrain, they look the same. Oman, they all look the same from a distance.
Yeah, of course.
But then when you get there, it's wildly different. Even so, based in Saudi Arabia, people from Daman are very different to people from Jeddah. People from Jeddah, very different from Riyadh. From Riyadh to Tabuk, everybody's very, very different. And you can see these cultural nuances coming through. So, and that's just in one country. Now, if we go over the borders to Abu Dhabi and Dubai, it's very different. Now, Abu Dhabi and Dubai, they've for the longest time they've had this Emiratization policy where it's about trying to get Emiratis into the workforce. I think a great initiative to get the local workforce working. You know, Saudi Arabia started to do something very, very similar, just trying to develop the young individuals. And having been based there for the last 2 years, I was really impressed with the tenacity, the grit, the determination, the sheer will that the young Saudis have, and the desire for growth and to change. Um, where did this come from? I don't fully know. Is it cultural? I don't know. I mean, if we take a step back and we take that Western perspective of what Saudi Arabia is, we think, okay, it's quite an oppressive society. In some senses, maybe. Um, but if in oppressive societies, would people have the opportunity to flourish as much as what these guys are doing? The most fiercest people I've ever met in business are Saudi women, young Saudi women in the workforce. So like maybe 22 to 30, right? They are fierce, they are smart, they're determined, and they stop at nothing. I mean, you can be in a meeting and there could be like an intern sat there, and if they don't agree with the most senior person, an exec director or it could be the CEO, if they don't agree,
I don't
the
agree.
rest of us we'll sit quiet and maybe we'll voice our concerns later on. If they don't
What do you
agree,
think it comes from? Is it like are they finding their position again, or what's going? I don't know
I
the.
have I think they've always had a voice.
Mm,
I think they're taking the opportunity to use their voice.
yeah, yeah.
They're very smart, and the young Saudi male graduates as well. The male interns are very smart as well. So I'm not going to say one's more smart than the
Of
other,
course.
but when you come at it from kind of that Fox News mentality, and you go, actually, it's surprising.
Mm, mm.
Like I was blown away. But yeah, I think from let's say from an entrepreneurial perspective, creativity perspective, we often think Europe is at the forefront, but I'm not sure.
Not sure.
You look at China, okay, maybe some elements in terms of quality are not necessarily there. An example being a Chinese car brand tried to replicate the Land Rover advert where the Land Rover drove up the stairs in at a temple in China. Um, and the Chinese attempt didn't work. It failed. It crashed into the barrier. So that their technology isn't as advanced, or the quality is not as advanced, but their thought process and
Mm,
how they're going to get there. I mean, we're, we've got to give them credit. I mean,
mm.
to take how many a billion people from where to where? Look at the train system in China, the high speed train system, phenomenal. We don't have that in Europe.
Mm.
But yeah, there's all these cultural needs and nuances around. I
So
think it'd be fascinating.
you've been around all these countries staying a long time.
Mm.
What's the difference of mindset then? Well, there's many countries we're talking about, of course.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's choose some. But what's
So
missing? What's missing in Europe? Maybe it'll be easier.
okay. So straight out of university, I moved to the Middle East. I moved to Abu Dhabi, where I worked in a hotel, Castle Sarab, one of the most beautiful hotels you're ever going to see. It's about 3 hours into the desert. From every single second of the day, it looks completely different because the sun shines into the dunes differently. At night, you can pick the stars out of the sky. It's
Ay, ay,
beautiful.
ay, ay.
Um, so I didn't have a work opportunity, an opportunity to work in Europe or the
Right.
UK straight out of university. I came back for a few years. And at that point you realize that this this sense of optimism, which you see in the Middle East and you see in Asia and you see in other parts of the world, you see in Africa, um, we don't necessarily have. We're quite pessimistic in
Yeah, we
Europe
are.
and
Of course we
we
are.
are, right. We put ourselves down more than what we should do. Um, but then we're also quite, I feel, in comparison, we we're at that stage where we're going, society's okay, we're just going to rest right now. We don't need to push it forward any further.
Yeah.
But a lot of these places, Africa, Middle East, and Asia,
They're developing quickly, and
they are developing
the
very quickly.
children are hungry.
They're hungry.
Yeah,
One of the wildest
hungry
things I
to
saw.
for innovation. I mean, for creating things.
Exactly.
Yeah,
They're hungry for social mobility. They're hungry
yeah,
for creating. They're
yeah.
hungry to better themselves. They're hungry to make a name. Now, one of the wildest things I saw was in Myanmar, in Burma. We were sailing down the Irrawaddy, and I was just stood on deck, just in taking in the view. And there was this small little raft. It was a raft. It was bamboo, nothing more, nothing less, and it had this little dome made of hay, and this lady just crawled out, and she had her phone. I was thinking, what? This lady lives in a raft in the
And has a
middle
phone.
in the middle of a river, and she has a phone. These countries have jumped
I know.
telephones. They've jumped.
Mm,
They've hyper jumped. They've
yeah,
gone into in a
hyper
crazy
jump,
speed.
and we have to learn
They've
from them, huh? Mm.
Exactly. So they don't have cell phone. They don't have house phones. They don't have lap computers. They don't have laptops. They went straight to the phone, and you can do everything on your phone. I mean, think about it. Coursera, an online education platform, edX, online education platform. These people have access to all of the same content and explosion education that we have, right? You don't need to go to university to get exposed to it. They're learning quickly, very quickly. Yes, they might not have had the history. They've not had cars. They've not had actual dial phones or like actual computers, but they have the technology to reach the rest of the world and to educate themselves, and they're doing it. Um, so one very interesting in Myanmar. Myanmar is a wonderful place. When it opens up again properly, I would strongly recommend anybody going. It's like stepping into a living museum. But the people are so hungry that uh, we had a number of individuals on our cruise ship who had never worked in hotels, never worked in hospitality, and this is one of the top river cruises in the world. I mean, we
Mm.
are one of the top 1% of hotels globally. We could rival Le Bristol in Paris. We could rival Hotel de Paris in Monaco. We could rival Claridge's or anything like that. And we was taking some of our crew members, some of our hospitality crew members from the riverbanks. They've never experienced hotels. They've never experienced a cocktail bar. They've never experienced anything. Within 2 or 3 months, they they was learning online. Within 2 or 3 months, they could talk so eloquently about wine that you think that they're classically trained, and then they'd be like,
Grandparents who are living in the vineyards.
exactly, exactly. And I got this is wild. On a cruise, you work very hard. Everybody works very hard, and
Mm.
they was working very hard. But then going back to the cabins, going back to the crew area, and then still training themselves upon new things. Now, do we see that in Europe? I mean, do you see a cocktail chef in Paris or in London or in Frankfurt finishing a 12-hour shift and going back home and then researching
They
what
are hungry of to change. They are hungry.
exactly
Especially
exactly
all my friends. These guys all over, they're not aigris.
content. It doesn't mean that it's bad.
Well, we had comfort at peace. So, of
Mm,
course, we're not pushing that much.
yeah. Well, I mean, look, it is a positive and it's a
Yeah.
negative, but if we think so, I like to use a hand analogy for leadership, and I think it could be used here. So I like to think that when we think of different cultures or when we think about different people when we're leading them, if we consider them as fingers, so each finger is a culture. So from a distance, they all look the same. But when you get close, when you start using it, actually they all have a different way of being used. Pointy, little pinky, piece. Um, if you were to treat all of them identically, they would not work. You need to
Yeah.
treat them individually to how each of them actually is supposed to
Yeah.
respond, right? I think that's the same with leadership. When you're
And that's
leading
how
any
a
team,
team should work.
exactly.
Yeah.
And look, if all of them are treated how they need to be treated as individuals, then that harmonious nature
Work perfectly.
works together.
Yeah.
It works perfect.
Mm,
But if you start treating your pointer finger like your pinky finger,
mm.
it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Your thumb, as in like your middle finger,
Mm.
ain't going to work. I mean that versus the middle finger, two very different uh, uh, statements, right?
Totally. So sometimes some people encounter one city or an environment, a person that completely accelerates a person's trajectory.
Hmm.
I've experienced that. For instance, for me, like I was traveling, I left my studies because they were boring me at
Mm.
23, and I went to Germany because I wanted to become at that stage a trans interpret.
Hmm.
I found a job in a big company, international company, where I was a marketing assistant just to have enough money to do my own thing. And I
Hmm.
was lucky enough to make friends with my boss, who was an ex-artist, and he
Mm.
enabled me to, because I was supposed to go home, da da da, and he said, "Well, Alexia, this company exists everywhere in the world. Why not?
Hmm.
Do you want to go to Australia because it exists there, and we could try
Mm.
and start da da da." And that's how I started having a meta position, started traveling, started thinking, "Oh my God, I could do this with older people, young enough," and it
Hmm.
just accelerated the way I thought, and
Yeah.
I will always be thankful. Like I was
Yeah.
from there to, all right, there's a playground.
Uh-huh.
Have you had this experience or not?
Yeah, I think there's actually a few people.
Mm,
So one of them would be a former manager when I used to work in Qatar. His name was Salah Hussein. He now works in Perth. An amazing guy, an Australian guy. And he really taught me how to be a leader and how to actually develop people. Um, so his philosophy was if somebody is 70% ready for the role, give them the role.
yes.
People don't They
Mm,
don't need to be 100%. If they're 100%, they're burnt out already.
yeah,
They need to learn a lot on the job.
yeah.
So if they look like they're ready, put them in. And it's your job there to help guide them on through. A lot of leaders don't like to put people into positions which they're not 100% ready for because it can be lots of work,
Mm,
right? Think about it. If you're promoting somebody who's 70% ready for the next job, they still got to develop 30%, right? To get to what the deliverable should be. Most leaders want plug and play. Most leaders want to go, okay, my team is there. I don't need any issues. But the most impactful leaders are ones who have skin in the game. They're the ones who have as much invested into your future, your development, as what they have in theirs. Um, so yes, Salah, who's fantastic, he would try to get people into roles when they were 70% ready and then help guide them, coach them when they're in that. I mean, there's a lot of people. A guy called Dawood, for really probably one of the best hoteliers you could ever meet. He was the general manager
oh,
so he's the top guy
mm,
for this hotel called the Sarajan. The
oh,
Sarajan is this small boutique hotel in Khao Lak in Thailand, which is about an hour and a half north of Phuket. It's beautiful. It's 56 rooms. They what they do is there's actually a few things. Breakfast anytime, anywhere. So if you arrive on a very late flight and you get into the hotel at 10 o'clock and you do not wake up until midday the next day, no
Thank
problem.
you, people. Thank you.
No problem. They, they will bring you your breakfast with champagne, with sparkling wine. Even better. Anywhere you want.
People.
If you decide you want to have your breakfast on the beach at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, they'll
Mm,
bring it. And you can have obviously Thailand, so you can have a mix of like Western dishes and Asian dishes. Amazing. They would have experiences like a private candlelit waterfall dinner. So you could have a private chef, a waterfall, 1,000 candles dotted across the waterfall.
oh
The,
my God.
the, this was the place where this experimentation could happen because people
Wow.
like Darwin and people like the owners as well. He was probably one of the in terms of the experiential luxury hospitality, which I hold true now. I learned a lot through him. Um, and there were plenty of other people. James Young, he was one of my GMs as well, one of my general managers. Also, he several years before I worked for him, I actually drove past his hotel and I was sat with a friend, and my friend went to a hotel school, The Hague, which is probably one of the best hotel schools in the world. And she said, the GM of that hotel is phenomenal. It is they're really, really good. If you ever get the opportunity, work for him. Oh, okay. Just out of the blue, out of the blue. Um, and a few years later, I had the opportunity and phenomenal. The interpersonal skills that he had, but also the ability to run a very large, successful hotel. I mean, let's be honest, a hotel is not just beds. A hotel is beds, spa, gym, all your restaurants, all your
Mm,
pool, all your if you're at nightclubs, is everything. It's they're machines. Um, uh, People quite often think that they're quite small things. So he was a phenomenal guy to work with. But then my coaches, my teachers as well at school.
mm.
I think there's a lot of maybe my parents as well. So
Thanking everyone.
yeah, thank you. I'm pretty sure my mum used to say this all the time. I ask her now, and she say no, I didn't say it. She credits it to my brother. Um, but I'm pretty sure she used to say, as we was growing up, Thor thought he shit himself, but when he turned around, he hadn't. You know, Marvel,
Yeah.
the movies, you
Right.
have
Yeah.
Thor.
Okay.
So Thor basically Thor thought that he shit himself.
Yeah.
You need to bleep that out. So Thor thought he shit himself, but when he turned around, he hadn't. So basically, that saying says that no matter how big, how mighty, how powerful you are, it's a crazy quote, but no matter how big, how mighty, how powerful you are, Thor, the god of thunder, the biggest god in the Norse world, you cannot just think something. You need to look. You need to see it yourself before
You
you
need to
can.
experience it. Is that what you
You
mean?
need to experience it. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that one. My granddad as well. My mum's dad. When I was a very young kid, I was playing on the beach, and where we're from, the beach is sand, and underneath the sand, it's clay. And he was a very strong working class guy. I was digging down, and I got to the clay, and I said, "Oh, granddad, there's poo." And he just turned around to me because I was maybe 6 years old. He turned around to me, straight face. Ben, there is shit everywhere. It all depends how you deal with it. So
Oh,
there's
God, you would
problems
think that
everywhere.
that's wrong with you.
Tell that to a 6-year-old child. Um, there's a
Times.
but basically it just depends how you deal with it. Which I thought was quite
Yeah, but
one
you have to
something.
remember it because it's easy to turn around after saying, "Okay, this piece of shit was there for me to learn this," and but when you're in the
Yeah,
middle, you have to.
yeah.
Okay, this is just a moment of growth.
But here's the thing: when you're in the middle, you're thinking, "Oh, this is terrible. This is terrible." But post rationally, like when you get to the end and you
Yeah,
look back, you go, "That wasn't as bad as I thought."
I
I, I,
know.
I I mean, everybody goes through it.
You know what
Um,
I do? Because I'm visual, so I'm a graphic
mm.
facilitator. I
Mhm.
have been drawing my cycles, not my period cycles, my cycles of life. I just saw how I put this out.
Yeah, bit messy.
No, my cycles since I'm a kid
Yeah.
to now. So I've had
Mm.
big downfalls, big highs. Well, I've had highs as tall as my downfalls. And
Hmm.
I've been drawing everything and seeing what happens just before the downfall, just before
Hmm.
the rise. And it's
Mm.
always, so I've made a drawing about that from the age of
Hmm.
13 to now, even earlier. And it is always the same circle. So now, when I'm in the shitty time, I'm like, pop, 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 pop. I see the signs that are replication, a bit different of things
Hmm.
that have happened before. And I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm in the perfect position. This is just before the rise.
exactly. It's
It's
like
a
the
very good
seasons
way
framework.
to calm down.
Do you know the seasons framework? Because there's
Tell
four
me.
seasons. So you got summer, autumn, winter, spring.
Yeah,
So basically, spring is where things bloom.
yeah,
It's where things start getting better.
yeah,
Summer is where your life is perfect.
yeah,
Autumn is where it starts to get a
yeah,
bit bad,
yeah.
and then winter is where it's terrible. It's cold. It's harsh. But
But
if you
what's
think
really happening?
yeah, yeah. But once you get through your winter, you come back into spring. So
Yes.
it's a cycle of spring, summer, autumn, winter, spring, summer, winter, autumn. Blah, blah, blah. So ups and downs, ups and downs.
Mm.
As long as you keep pushing on through, you will get to spring at some point,
And
when that is.
autumn, everything is falling down, but is nourishing the ground. Winter
Exactly.
is where everything is underneath
Mm,
working. So
yeah,
everything is good. I try to
exactly.
remember. It's like, it's working.
Exactly. Exactly. And when it's not working, I mean, the best thing you can do is just get out, have exercise, do
Yeah,
something different.
and wait for
Get,
spring.
get, yeah, and just wait for spring. Just bury ahead.
So you've worked around very ambitious people and systems. Some people can spend years around ambitious worlds and never really enter them. Others suddenly cross a threshold. Have you noticed that?
I think some people instantly go across a threshold and they go from zero to 100 really quickly. Now, that can be good, but most times it can be quite damaging because you don't necessarily have the experience, exposure, the skill set to
Patience.
deal with that
Yeah.
that difference, that polarity. The muted versus exuberant. So muted, very, very low. Exuberant is very, very like high, very high powered, energetic. I think a lot of people can thrive on them environments in the threshold moments, the 0 to 100, but most people actually work up to them moments. So most people will have small challenge, small challenge, small challenge. And this is generally what school or your adolescents try to teach you.
Mm,
You have this small study, a small exam at school, right? And it builds up, builds up, builds up, builds up. So a moment of stress is not a moment of weakness. A moment of stress is helping you build out strength for the next one. So each threshold that you go over, each challenge that you go over, you'll be able to deal with more ambiguity, more uncertainty, more challenge, more basically
mm,
more
mm,
shit, really.
yeah.
Um, and I've seen that quite a lot. Now, the people who, and it's kind of like your comfort zone. So I was talking earlier about that the model. You've got the comfort zone, which is in the middle. You got the development zone, which is a bigger circle, and the danger zone, which is out. If you always stay in your comfort zone will get smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller. You need to push out of your comfort zone into your development zone, and then you'll continue to develop.
Yeah.
If you push too hard, you go into your danger zone and actually have either physiological or psychological negative impact into you.
Yeah.
So it's about finding the right
But
balance.
find
Now
it the right
that
frontier border. You know.
exactly. Now that a few people need to manage that. It's not just you as an individual, because yes, you are responsible for you, but it's also your tribe, your group, your people around you, your manager, your leader, your friends, your family. They're also there to help guide you and to pull you back when need be or to push you forward. Now, let's say somebody goes into the danger zone. If you told somebody, "Oh no, this is too dangerous. You shouldn't do that," that's you as an individual are probably going to turn around and say, screw that, I'm going to do it.
Mm.
So your friend and your family shouldn't be saying, ah, that's an issue. They should be just trying to extract you from that situation. So let's say you're getting stressed, worked up. Okay, well, I'm going to go for a jog. You want to come for a jog with me? I'm going to the art gallery. You coming for? I'm going to go skiing. You going to come? Oh, I'm go for a bike ride. Oh, I'm going down to the pub, or I'm going to the restaurant. There's all this new cafe opened up. Pulling people out of the situation can sometimes bring them from the danger zone back into the development zone, back into their comfort zone. So just by telling somebody to move, they're not going to move.
And how do
You've
you do
got to
on your
offer it.
own? How do you do on your own?
On my own, I'm quite religious in terms of having a structure for physical activity.
Mm.
So
Because this
I will,
causes ADHD too, huh?
yeah,
With
yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah.
It,
So if the friends, family are not around, how do you put these boundaries on your own?
so it's it's pretty hard to put boundaries on yourself. So I was living in Thailand once, and whenever I get stressed, I go for a jog.
Mm,
Uh, a longer jog if I'm very stressed, or a shorter jog if I'm not. And I always track it on Strava, the app on the Strava app on the phone. Is a running app which you can track how far you run and da 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 da. And in the past, it used to upload your score, upload your run onto Facebook.
mm. Oh yes, I
This
remember
was
that. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm,
this is when Facebook was more popular. And my dad used to think Strava was a person. So he used to go, "Oh, Ben's out running with his friend again." Um, and then I'd move countries. So I'd live in Dubai, and then my dad would be like, "Wait, Strava's moved to Dubai with him." So, and then I'd move to Singapore, and he'd be like, my dad would be like, "Wait,
What's wrong with
how comes?"
Strava?
Yeah, it's Ben telling you, not telling something.
He's
So
telling me
I always
something.
yeah. I always try to keep very religious in terms of doing physical activity. So what I do is run, but I find that you need a good soundtrack, a
Yeah.
soundtrack which you is just releases all the emotions and
Mm,
just allows you to level set. Or you go to a fitness class which you do not program yourself. You just can go, you can forget about everything, and you
yeah.
just go through the program like CrossFit or something like that. That always helps. So yeah, I think when you manage yourself, you need to have
Sports.
basically.
Yeah.
Oh, it can be sports, but it can be other things. So I talked about the pottery, right? So
Yeah.
I hand build. You need a physical outlet, but you also may need a creative outlet.
Yeah.
So we do pottery. We do paint nights.
Paint nights.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we will come up with a theme. It can be anything. It could be the theme could just be fruit, a fun fair, a space, cat, anything. And then what you have to do is to paint something to that theme. And at the end of it, you reveal, oh, this is what I've drawn,
Uh,
this is what I painted, da, da. And do you know what? We've painted some things which I'd happily hang on my wall.
oh, cool.
Well, not what I painted, mainly what my
No,
wife,
but for
what my
you,
friends have painted.
okay, if it's it doesn't have to be beautiful in whatever standards if it's meaningful. Mm.
But then I feel like a lot of people don't like to do art because they feel like they need to come up with an idea to do it. Um,
Look at my piece of art.
yeah, I like that.
It is
That's
an
very nice.
exercise. Whatever comes up,
Yeah,
you put it up because it's not beautiful. It's a big mess, but I
but
love
it's art.
my
It, as it is an emotional representation of you at
exactly.
that time, right?
Exactly.
Um, so I think you can have a fitness outlet, you can have a creative outlet. I mean, there's many different outlets. You can have a social outlet. You could be part of a group, a society, an organization to help with that. Um, uh, I mean, there's lots of different ways.
I traveled a lot when I was young, and I continued traveling as a mother because I have time. I'm separated from the father, so I've got a lot of time. So I was able to
Hmm.
travel, to continue my traveling little passion, but in shorter times, of course, which is frustrating
Mm.
because I meet all these youngsters that are
Mm.
gone for months and months and months, and I'm like, oh, I've got to go home. So, but still, I'm meeting all these little brothers and sisters, and I'm impressed by the new generation who talk so many languages and are interested in
Yeah.
so many things. I wish I was born 20 years later. Um,
Mm.
but my son is a bit the same. He's got the same kind of mind. He's always interested in tons of things and giving this up and going back to this and this and this and this. I try to reassure him by saying I'm the same. It will gather at some place at some stage. What would you tell
Yeah.
people who've got tons of things they like to do but don't know how to start something in the
I
world
mean,
we live in Europe, where you have to choose some studies?
I, let's go to Marvel as well. So, the Robert Downey Jr. character, what was his name? Iron Man.
Yeah.
So, Iron Man was based on an ADHD character. He is the one in the red suit. He's the rich guy with the all the technology and that
Okay.
comes up with creative, crazy ideas.
So he has
Um,
ADHD, man.
he's ADHD, yeah. So his basic superpower was to learn something very, very quickly and to yeah, just to get very good at it. I think if you're ADHD or no matter what you are, it's just about trying something. It doesn't matter, you don't need to continue. It's just literally about trying one thing here and there. And the most interesting people have tried 1,000 things.
Mm.
You don't need to get perfect at something. I think that's also one of the issues maybe the world has is it is thinking everybody needs to be perfect at something and you can only specialize in one thing. When in fact, the best conversations you can have are with people who have dabbled in 1,000 things and they can take learnings from one world and overlap them into another world. An example being, we went to go learn snowboarding earlier this week, and the instructor was talking, and as the instructor was talking, I was thinking, oh, that same principle is in kayaking, or that same principle is in kite surfing, that same principle is in rock climbing. Um, you'd have thought kayaking and snowboarding worlds apart,
Mm.
but theoretically, when they're explaining it to you, it's the same. It's edging, it's this, it's this. You look where you're going. If you look wherever you look, you're going to end up. Kind of thing. And that happens for not just for sports, but for anything we do in business. If you know more about finance, you're going to be better overall. If you know more about marketing, you'll be better overall. And I think one of the issues that everybody has is they only get good at marketing, or they only get good at finance, or they only get good at procurement, or they only get good at HR, and they don't understand the whole business and how it works interconnectedly, or they don't understand how one random thing you do will impact something else. For example, psychology. When you think psychology, a lot of people think this is very fluffy, very airy. Is there a crossover to business? 100%. The psychological principles can be overlaid into business because business is run by humans, is run by emotional creatures. And there's a lot of things you can do either to amplify your brand, amplify your business, or change how you do things internally, which is psychological principles. Now, you could read a book on psychology. Maybe a good one would be the one by Rory Sutherland. What was it called again? I can't remember what it's called, but it's a really good book. That's basically on behavioral science, and that changes how you think about problems, how you think about issues. I think if somebody's trying to start something or want to go in a direction, just start. But look, this could be me. Look, my childhood, my my mum, my dad always had the philosophy that we could try anything we want, and if we liked it, we stick at it. So I did everything. I did figure skating, I rode horses, I did jujitsu, remote control car racing, tried to swim. I'm terrible at swimming. But then kayaking. So about maybe 12, 13, 14 years old, local swimming pool had kayaking, so I went down and it stuck. Um, it's all about allowing people the ability to try. Uh, I mean, maybe that's what we need to do, like adults and parents. They need to allow their kids to do a
Right.
multitude of things.
Yeah, to experiment.
Um, because maybe they're going to grow up and then continue that experimentation when
Yeah.
they're older, instead
Find
of
links or find links with whatever they'll be doing later.
yeah, exactly. And a lot of things have crossover which you don't instantly see. Let's say the painting, which I just talked about, the creative aspect there. Yes, I'm painting, but creatively my brain's going and it's thinking about things. And that the creative muscle is going to help me with something else.
Of
It,
course.
it might help me come up with an idea for a difficult business decision. It might help me come up with a different experience. It might help me click and go, oh, actually, if I come at it from that direction, it might work better because your brain is doing something which it doesn't normally do. It's putting something onto a canvas which isn't there. Um,
And in the create and in arts, what I really like as a link and I find everywhere is when you're creating something, first your ego can go away. That's a good thing. And
mm,
it's also it's trusting yourself. I'm starting
mhm,
somewhere with a stroke and I'm believing wherever it's going is cool and I'm just feeling all the way and letting
mm,
go and choosing another thing. It's a lesson of life. You can do it in
exactly.
singing, in deciding, in
Mhm,
guiding, in many
yeah.
things. Just trusting and
Well,
feeling in the moment what you're doing, feeling, experimenting, and seeing at the same time where it could go.
I always feel like in creativity, 80% of what people do is useless. I mean, it doesn't come up with a tangible thing. So let's say we're learning to do pottery. The first 80% is just making something which is terrible, which I throw into the bin or put back into the clay pile. But it's the last 20%. Well, it's a 20% which is actually the output. Um, so that's clay building. But in the business world, you don't know what the valuable 20% is or the invaluable 80%. It could be anything.
Mm.
Um,
Okay, let's talk about AI just a little bit. I ask this question all the time. You've been working
mhm.
around AI at a high level. So it's helping us think further, produce infinite content, images, go for project ideas and all that. What do you think humans are craving more that AI could bring them? And let's go with what borders shouldn't we not cross?
Um, so my perspective on AI is that we need to be very, very careful with it. AI is a great tool, but it has the ability of making everything seem or sound the same. So everything becomes premium, effortless, human first, designed around you. Da, 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 da. Everything seems elevated, but that's also a problem because it also makes everything feel strangely the same. So you don't have this creative input into
Mm.
from the start. And this is also a challenge because then does that mean if we fully rely on AI to come up with the first bit of the creative aspect or even all the creative aspect, do we lose that muscle of coming up with new ideas or strategizing or or just pressure testing something? Are we fully relying on computers, on AI to do this? I mean, I have a big issue with the next generation. Have they had the ability to fully critically analyze things as they're growing up through education, through school, through their adolescence, or are they just reading from a script? If they are able to critically analyze something, they can come out into adulthood and actually have their own opinions and have fully formed thoughts and be fully formed humans. If they don't have that ability to critically analyze something or to be creative, they were going to come out and effectively be drones, which is then just going to make business, make the world, make economy, make societies just feel very homogenized. Everything will start looking the same, feeling the same, and being the same. I say that as I think that's a big issue. Can we overcome that? Yes. I feel we over rely on AI at the moment. We get it to do lots of our bidding. We get it to do lots of our work. It needs to be a collaborative approach. It needs to be us using AI as one additional person within our team, not the whole team, not 80% of the team, not 90% of the team, one additional person. And that would be that additional person either to um, validate an idea, bounce something off, to just to help flick something back and forward, just to amplify something a little bit more, but nothing which we fully rely on. And I think this is one big challenge in business is the finance director is going, how do we save money? Shareholders are going, how do we make more return? And short-sightedness is going, we can make more return if we push everything to AI. Um, yes, you will short term, but in the long term, will you dilute your value proposition? Will you dilute your full brand? Possibly. Will we be making people more stupid? Possibly. But yes, saying that, like, my spelling is not great. I do use it to check my spelling, check my grammar. I mean, my emails, because ADHD and also dyslexic, another amazing superpower. I mean, it's another thing which allows me just to connect a multitude of dots which nobody else can see, or think 10 steps ahead. Or even what's a wild one, I don't know if you have this, but you feel like you can interpret the future. Did you have that?
Yeah, because we're projecting, we're aligning the dots, and
Yeah, yeah,
we even take weird dogs into dots into consideration. So I've got the
yeah,
feeling I know where I'm going,
yeah. No,
even if it doesn't exist right now.
exactly. I actually saw this. I read this on Reddit, the subreddit dyslexia subreddit, um, and it's about how people seem to be able to predict what's going to happen in their own businesses before the business even knows it's going to happen, and they also predict it like 2, 3, 4 years in advance, and then maybe they leave the business and then they go in that direction, or society or something
Yeah.
something. Um, a wild one. So,
Have you read that people who have ADHD tend to use more AI because it's the same kind of way of thinking, and because we're
oh,
already
really?
like that, it's exponential, exponential. It's
Exponential.
exponentials our way of thinking.
Yep.
So for us who like to have different ideas, connect the dots, think further, it's like if the machine is pushing us even further away.
I think it could do. I think one of the issues that we do have though is it can hallucinate. And it
Yeah, we have to
hallucinates
be
quite a
careful with that.
bit.
Yeah. Mm.
Yeah.
But you have to put
Uh,
filters on. I put
yeah,
filters.
you got to put filters, you got to train it, and so on
Yeah.
and so forth. But then it still can have hallucinations.
Yeah.
It's still with that. I could see how it pushes. Works similar to ADHD people. I mean, birds of a feather flock together, right? So ADHD people, neurodiverse people, 20% of the world's population, they generally resonate with same people. Well, a wild fact I read somewhere that it's something crazy, like 80% of Fortune 500 CEOs or C-suite. So this is the top people in organizations.
Yeah.
So the top people in the top 500 organizations in the world, 80% of them are neurodiverse in some way, shape, or form. So that could be OCD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, ADHD,
Oh,
ASD.
bipolar. Let's go even further.
Well, I don't know about bipolar as a neurodiverse condition,
It
but
is linked.
things,
They're all cousins.
all cousins.
They're all cousins.
But th things like ASD, right? If
What
you
what
look
is
at any
ASD? ASD.
autism spectrum disorder,
Right.
so if you look at any of the greatest engineers or mathematicians
Mm.
or physicists in the world, right? ASD. If you look at the greatest business leaders in the world, the ones which have completely disrupted their industries and keep disrupting time and time again, dyslexic. If you look at the best entertainers in the world, right? You look at politicians, maybe politicians not a good example, but best entertainers, ADHD.
Mm.
And there's a an evolutionary reason why we have neurodiverse people. I mean, ADHD people, they see things which are out of sequence. So when you're in the savannah and you're looking for berries, they can see the berries because the berries are sharp. When they're trying to protect themselves against predators, they can see the predators because it's something different. Now, how does it amplify within business world? That that translates directly into how business works because business is always looking for one white space or looking for issues. If we know what white space we can step into, fantastic. If we know what issues are coming our way, fantastic. We can strategize one direction, we can strategize another direction. We can keep pivot, pivot, pivot. If you just see things as they are and only know that you have an issue when it hits you in the face, then you're screwed.
Yeah.
You're continuously in a firefight mode. I think this is the issue. You'll often talk to a lot of business leaders and they'll say, I'm continuously firefighting. That's because they're just waiting for the issues to hit them in the face. I think we went off track there. I don't know what question was.
No, we're not. We're perfectly on track in a messy way, but it's perfect. Are you a spiritual person?
Okay, spiritual.
And what
I,
you what is spiritual for you first?
I always think that if you do something good will happen to you. I don't know whether that's true, but I like to think that.
Mm.
I like to think that good people have good things coming to them, whether they notice or recognize that they're good at that time is a different matter. What you put into the world will ultimately come back to you. So if you're a horrible, nasty, angry person, maybe horrible, nasty, angry things are going to happen to you. And if we can just keep putting goodness and positivity out there with the people we work with the people who our family, our friends, our community, our tribe, then the world's going to be a better place. So that's kind of how I think how I think kind of that how that world works. Now, in terms of neurodiversity and also ADHD and the advent of AI, up until very recently, so into the 80s, people with neurodiversity was getting lobotomized in certain countries. So getting parts of the brain ripped out for things which didn't really cause any issues. So I think it's been a cultural thing of it's had to be hidden, it's had to be shied away because you think different or you see things different or you potentially
Open your mouth.
behave different.
Open your
Uh,
mouth.
we all know people who have severe autism.
Mm,
They are some of the smartest people you're ever going to meet.
yeah.
They're really, really, really smart. They've got double empathy, so they are more empathetic towards people. But quite often, people think maybe they're weird. I mean, they're not. It's just situational. It's the fact that you put a label on them. But in certain times, then people would have been discriminated against. And
Mm-mm.
I feel like as the world has becoming a lot more open with equality, with race, with gender, with social status, with everything, with religion, it's also something which is coming to the forefront. It's something which we're starting to talk about because it's ownable. It's us. It's something which shouldn't be shied away. You should not shy away if you're a female. You should not shy away if you're if depending on your sexual orientation. You should not shy away on religion. You should not shy away from anything.
Mm,
If it is you, it is you.
mm-mm.
As long as you're doing good things, helpful things, and you're not evil or trying to hurt somebody, then it's you. So I don't know whether the increase in ADHD, AI have some form of relation. I mean,
I'm
I,
wondering if the people who studied AI are just neurodivergent people who needed a bloody
I'm pretty sure.
book. So that's what happened.
I'm pretty sure that you've got some really intelligent,
Yeah,
probably a combination of autistic,
yeah,
dyslexic, and ADHD
yeah.
people.
Who went
Um,
the head of all that?
probably the programmers are the autistic, and probably the business people are dyslexic, and probably the people who conceptualize it was the ADHD people. Um, so something wild. The crazy thing is, it's been around forever. Alan Turing. So he was the guy who
Yeah.
uh, he created he was dyslexic in World War II. He created the code breaker that broke the codes from the Nazis, and he was dyslexic. Da Vinci, right?
Mm.
Just like Einstein. I mean, it's been around for a long, long time. I think it's just the fact that we're more willing to talk about it now, and you don't need to hide it. Well, why hide it? It actually irritates me when people say, "I didn't have this in my day." Well, actually,
Oh,
no.
of course, it was
It
just hidden. People didn't talk about it.
Yeah, exactly. You hide it away. But I think that we still have a long way to go. Now, it's a bit of a controversial opinion, but I still think race has a very, very long way to go. And it's one cause that I wholly support. I'm an ally in 100% of ways.
Mhm.
Racial identity. So whether
Right.
you're black, you're Indian, you're from Asia, you would never say, I know what a black person thinks because I have a black friend. You would never say that. That is completely wrong. Or I know how they feel because I have my partner is
Mm.
this, right? You never say that. But people often use that for neurodiversity. They'll say, I know how somebody with dyslexia feels because my daughter has dyslexia. I know how that is because my friend is ADHD. You don't. You don't.
You don't.
You can't come from a background. You can be an ally, but you don't fully know how that issue is. So there's still a little bit way to go for inclusivity in terms of accessibility in terms of understanding, and not just with neurodiversity, but with race and all of that as well. I think it's something which is getting better. I hope it gets a lot better soon because there's so much that
Quite quick.
the
It's going
community.
fast. It's going fast. It is.
Mm,
Yeah, we're in the middle of it, but it's quite fast.
yeah, exactly.
Last question about that. Before the last
Mm.
question. So you've been tested on ADHD?
Adhada, yeah.
Yeah, because I got tested and I was like, yeah, so cool. And so
Hmm.
I know that I have developed my own practices without knowing. I was drawn to graphic facilitation because
Mm.
that's exactly how I work. I was
Hmm.
drawn to vocal improvisation. That's exactly how I work too. What have you done? Do you have some practices, some tips, some behavior practices or whatever you've put in place? Or are
Mhm.
you taking the Ritalin and all that? What do you think about that?
Okay. So I was actually diagnosed quite late on. So
Yeah,
I was
me too.
diagnosed.
Mm.
It's very common, and it's actually even more common with women
Yeah,
because
in
men.
July. It was last July for me.
Congratulations, welcome to the club.
Welcome to the family.
So I was actually diagnosed with dyslexia when I was a teenager, probably about 12, 13 years old. And the psychologist at the time who diagnosed me told my parents, I think he might be ADHD also. My mum has worked in that world since then, in
Ah,
a different vertical, and she was like, yeah, actually, I think you got it. But I didn't know this. So I went through all my t late teens, my 20s, and my 30s, not knowing I had ADHD, but knowing that things didn't feel like they clicked.
yeah.
And then when I was in my early 30s, I started to become very anxious. And it's a very, very common thing for ADHD people to have, this anxiety, and which ultimately led for me to get diagnosed with ADHD. But as soon as I got diagnosed, literally the second the psychologist told me, like face to face, because actually the assessment was one of the most difficult things I've ever done. Because especially if you get diagnosed as an adult, because they dig into your past, they dig into your childhood, they question everybody, they question your parents, your teachers, they bring up things which you completely forgot about,
Mm.
but emotionally they hit you. So, but as soon as this psychologist they told me, I was like, this actually all makes sense now. Everything seems to. I continuously travel. I continuously look for adventure. I continuously look for new things to do. I continuously have 1,000 hobbies on the go at once. I read about 40 books a year. I hate to read, but I love to learn. My brain is always looking for new stimulus. I can have a conversation. So my team before used to call me the chameleon. So my team used to say, "You're a chameleon. You can blend into any situation." So I could be talking to anybody and instantly connect because I've had that thousands of different experiences to literally just connect into and just then talk to them. So I know a little bit of cricket, a little bit of football, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this. And I think that's what ADHD people have. As in terms of managing it, I did try the medication. Do
I
I
know.
like it? Not
So can
really.
you please, because I'm at the limit of trying. I didn't want to, but I went to see my now, and I said,
Uh-huh.
okay, I've got to find a way because if I'm not doing something that I'm really passionate about, before I
Mm.
was able to do a bit boring thing. Now I just can't anymore. I don't know if it's old age, and it's a bit scary because life can't be always super interesting. And
Mm.
he said, maybe it's time for you to go onto the Ritalin.
Yeah.
So tell me.
All right. So I've tried Elvant and also Concerta. I've tried both of them, two of them. I've not tried Ritalin. And this is all through titration, through the psychiatrist, through the doctor, and
Awesome.
it takes months and months and months just to even be able to get the pill. One of the biggest issues they have is supply chain. So I started doing Elvant, and then there was a global shortage for 4 or 5 months. So you start it, then you stop it, you start it, you stop it, which is not good. But when I finally was able to do it for long term, I found that yes, it is good. It level sets you, but it also stopped me from being creative. So
Ah,
it took all the creativity, and then it dulls it didn't dull me. Like people couldn't tell I was on it, but I felt like it dulled me. I didn't feel as joyous, as exuberant, as
usual.
full of life as what I normally am. I'm stable. I'm stable, so I can sit and I can do emails for 12 hours. It's kind of boring, right? It can have impact in your diet. So when I was an Elvant, I didn't want to eat. So
Oh, I
it
was
stops you from eating. Uh,
scared.
and I love to eat, so it was also a big thing. So I think it's a great tool for a lot of people to use because it does help track people. But for somebody who needs to be very creative in my line of work, but also I like to be very creative in my personal life. it wasn't the best thing. I like to take 12 things and see where I can interconnect them. I like to see with thematrics, the codification between things.
And you didn't have it
But
anymore?
no, so I
Oh no,
stopped.
no, that's what I love about myself too.
Yeah.
That's the point of having ADHD otherwise. Last question, last question. When you imagine the life you actually want in the future, what does it look like? Do you still have a big dream?
I have a very big dream. My dream is to be a chief brand and experience officer for a large luxury hotel company or an adjacent service-led organization. So let's say an airline, a cruise company. So I really want to be doing brand and experience for these places. I feel like
You still, it's the same thing you were doing before. If
it's
it's
the
a
same
hotel.
thing, but it's more elevated. It's on a high level. Yeah, maybe an airline would be an interesting one.
Space. A space experience.
Space, yeah. Space could be the next
If you
frontier.
do that, please call me because I would love that. What I'll be doing, but I'll be doing something.
Yeah. You can draw
Draw and
the
sing.
things and the
I'll draw
resource.
and sing
And
some
see.
stuff for you guys.
Fantastic.
And
You're
make,
hired.
wow. Okay. Thank you very much, Ben. That was
Thank
a
you
delight.
as
That was
well.
super interesting. I think we could talk some more for hours and go in tons of many different directions.
I think we could. This is where our brains at, right?
As if.